Hey guys, recording this lesson for the Age of Exploration. This is this is topic 4.1. So this is going to be your first lesson that we're going to do in Unit 4. Now, Unit 4 is about it's called transoceanic interconnections, which are a couple big words that just mean that the world is becoming connected through through sea travel. Okay, so exploration has a huge amount to do with that. Um, the world is becoming connected together through through sea trade and things like that, and you know that's also has a lot to do with the exploration of the new world and all sorts of stuff that we're going to talk about throughout the unit. Okay, so I want to I want to first talk about the age of exploration. Okay, um, so we're going to get started by talking about something that's a little bit out of the time period here. That oops, sorry. Um, Give me just one second. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about something that's a little bit out of the time period here, and that is some Chinese um, exploration. Okay, so so we kind of start this. Remember, this new time period starts around 1450. We're going to go back about 100 years to talk about the Ming Empire. So in 1368, the Chinese overthrew the Mongols and they established the Ming Dynasty. And the Ming emperors encouraged overseas trade. Um, they began a series of explorations led by Zheng He, and they wanted to demonstrate Chinese superiority. So they wanted people to know how powerful China was, and in doing that, they sent a they sent a an explorer with his ships that were 4 times larger than Columbus's ships that he brought to the New World. They were 450 feet long, something like that, and and they and anyway these ships were kind of to explore, but also to show people how powerful China was, and how great they were, and everything like that. So, with a fleet of over 100 of these ships, Zheng He led 7 different expeditions all around Asia, East Africa, and Southeast Asia. Zheng He explored areas along the Indian Ocean and Africa. He expanded trade, and let me move this over here. And he collected tribute from foreigners. So the foreigners that that he encountered on the way, he said, essentially the same thing that China does in other cases, and lots of different lots of different civilizations do in other cases, is they collected tribute from foreigners that are that are essentially saying, hey, if you pay us some money, we won't attack you. We'll leave you alone, that sort of thing. So that's what he does to these places he finds along the Indian Ocean and in East Africa. Zheng He had better ships and traveled farther than any European explorers would for 100 years. So in the 1400s, he was able to to really do a lot of things that European explorers wouldn't do for a long time. Now, after the 7th treasure fleet voyage in 1433, Chinese leaders unexpectedly ended the expeditions and they retreated into isolationism. Um, and they complained that Zheng He's voyages used valuable resources that were needed to defend China, and they were more concerned about defending China than doing all these explorations to other places. So China's official trade policy at that point was to keep the influence of outsiders to a minimum. So China's geography and government policies really kept them isolated from the rest of the world, until till much later, until around the 1800s or so. Um, so 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 the Chinese become isolated from the rest of the world for the rest of this for the rest of this time period from 1433 really until the end of the time period in 1750. Now, as we talked about in the last unit, this is the Ming Dynasty, which comes before the Qing. The Qing, the Qing take over in, I believe, the 1600s, if I remember correctly. Um, but they're outsiders from Manchuria. They're also known as the Manchus. So they take over and continue this retreat into isolationism for China. Okay. Um, Now we're going to switch to Europe now, because Europe is where you get the explorations that are in this time period. So Europe was isolated from the rest of the world until the 1400s. Um, Marco Polo was an explorer, and we talked about him in another unit. He he explored China, or I guess went to China and and learned a lot about what's going on there. That was in around 1275, but Europeans had neither the interest or the ability to explore foreign land at that point. So that continues into the 1400s, but by the early 1400s, a few things change. There's a desire to grow rich in in European society, and they begin to see that other places might hold riches for them. There's a desire to spread Christianity. That they want to spread Christianity to these new lands uh, that that they think they can get to, and this is a real important part for this. There are advances in sailing technology as well. So you have an advance in sailing technology that that goes during this time. In addition to, or you have quite a few advances in sailing technology, in addition to some other things that are going on during this time period. Okay. Oops, sorry. I am way something happened. I'm way off now. Okay. All right. So all right. So we have a few different motivations for these European explorers. So when Europeans begin exploring, they have three motivations, and you've probably heard about this before in your social studies classes from when you were younger. There are three G's. We're going to call them three G's, and those are God, gold, and glory. Okay. So those are the three that that we're going to look at today. Okay, so these are the three motivations for Europeans to explore. So God is the first one. And so the God motivation means that they want to spread their religion. So the Crusades left a feeling of hostility between Christians and Muslims. And the Europeans believed that they had a sacred duty to fight Muslims and convert non-Christians throughout the world. So, so they used exploring in order to spread their religion. Bartholomew Diaz described his motives as an explorer. He said, "To serve God and His Majesty." There you go. There's the God portion. To give light to those who are in darkness, also spreading religion, and to grow rich, as all men desire to do. So, so that hints at another motivation that he had, which is the gold motivation, the to grow rich. During during this time, there's a growing desire for new sources of wealth. Because the European economy is growing, and they want to continue growing, so they're looking for new sources of wealth to to keep their growth going. Um, there's They find a benefit from profitable trade of goods from Asia. Um, they were introduced to these goods during the Crusades. Then after the Crusades, there's the demand for these goods continued to rise. So they have, their high demand means you're going to have high prices for these goods that are that are coming from Asia. But the problem was the Muslims and Italians controlled the East-West trade, especially uh, you know, especially I forgot which city, the Venetians. Sorry, the Venetians, the Venice in Italy is controlling this trade along with the Ottoman Empire, um, and I think there was another Muslim empire that was kind of helping to control the trade as well. But they're controlling this east-west trade. So by the 1400s, merchants and monarchs from the rest of Europe wanted to bypass the Italian merchants and find their own way to get to get these goods, because if they're these middlemen are up in the prices, they're thinking, hey, it's going to be a lot cheaper and we can make a lot of money if we bypass the Italian merchants and find another route that doesn't go through the Mediterranean Sea and not an overland route. They wanted to find a sea route to Asia. Okay, and that's where we'll pick up again later. Then the third motivation was glory. The Renaissance spirit gave men a sense of pride and individual achievement. Individualism is becoming much more pervasive during this time. People care about who they are as an individual and how people see them as an individual, and it's less group based, especially in Europe. So the Renaissance also created a sense of curiosity about the world, learning more about the world, exploring those sorts of things. And also, both individuals and countries were seeking the recognition of being the first to make never-before-made voyages of exploration. So just, getting that recognition of being the first to travel around the world, or the first to reach, to find this land route to Asia, or the first to explore sub-Saharan Africa, or everything like that. Okay, now this is the important part for this for today, is that technology makes exploration possible. So technology is used from all parts of the world during this time, and these Europeans have access to this technology, and that really helps make the exploration that much more. The technology helps make the exploration that much more achievable. So the first piece of technology we're going to talk about is the Caravelle, where the Caravelle is a new, sturdier vessel for long-distance sailing. So that it's more sturdy, it goes longer distances, and it's light and fast. That's the important part here. You can sail for longer distances because the Caravelle is light and fast, and it can go a long way. So that makes these long-distance sailing voyages more possible. And you have also some what are called portolan maps. This is a type of nautical chart that's used from the 13th to the 16th centuries for commercial navigation in the Mediterranean. Now, the coastline was indicated in detail, which is what the explorers would need. And many geographical designations were there, and how far to get to each one and everything like that. But the inland portions were usually left blank. Because you don't need those parts, and those parts were always going to be less what am I trying to say here, less accurate, so they left those parts blank. The Astrolabe was also used by navigators, and this one came from Arabic culture. So this came from the Middle East, and it was a ring marked in degrees for measuring celestial altitudes, which helped you know where you were and helped you navigate on the sea. And knowing how where exactly a star was helped you know what day it was and everything like that. Helped you know which direction to go. It was a way of navigating on the sea, especially at night, using the Astrolabe. The sextant is another important piece of technology during this time, which helps measure distances to different places. So that's important in making maps and also in navigating on the sea as well. The triangular sail is another one. Okay, the triangular sail was adopted from the Muslims as well, and this allowed ships to sail against the wind. Now, usually I do a little diagram to show you exactly how this works, but basically you use this process called tacking, which is like going back and forth. You go this way, and then you go this way, and then you go this way, and you can sail against the wind by doing that, because the triangular sail can catch the wind and propel it forward if it's going at an angle. So you can go in 45 degree things, and go against the wind, when you couldn't do that before. So the triangular sail allows you to do this tacking against the wind, and and get to where you want to go, even if the wind is going in the opposite direction. Okay. I'm going to let y'all go through the rest of the slides because they're pretty self-explanatory, and I'm running out of time here. So the rest is about Portugal and Spain. You can put those uh, on your pieces chart as well, and the Treaty of Tordesillas and everything like that. And so so anyway, you've got a lot more there to to take notes on. Just make sure that you go through that. But you don't need my explanation for that. You can just read everything that's left there. So you go back to your Google Classroom and and look at the slides for the rest of these, and you should be good there. I've explained everything that I need to explain up to this point. Okay, so y'all have a good day, and make sure that you do everything on your assignment for today. Y'all have a good one.